You're in the wrong room. Victoria Kane's voice cut through the silence like a blade. The man across from her didn't flinch, didn't scramble, didn't offer excuses. He just nodded, standing slowly, jacket creased from too many wears, eyes carrying something she couldn't name. Exhaustion, maybe, or resignation. But not fear. Never fear. "I'll see myself out," he said quietly. That's when she noticed his hands, steady, despite everything. And in that moment, watching this stranger prepare to walk away from a mistake that wasn't even his, Victoria Kane made a decision that would crack her glass tower wide open. Stay with me through this story. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city. I want to see how far this one travels. The elevator doors opened with a whisper, and Noah Reed stepped into a world made of light and steel. 47th floor. Glass walls stretching toward a sky that looked scrubbed clean. Marble floors so polished he could see his reflection. Tired eyes, jacket that had seen better years, shoes he'd buffed that morning with a hotel towel because he couldn't afford new ones. Not yet. Maybe not ever, depending on how today went. He checked his phone. 2:47 p.m. 13 minutes early. Behind the reception desk sat a woman who looked like she'd been assembled rather than born. Sharp suit, sharper hair, a smile that had been trained into position and left there to dry. Her eyes flicked over him once. Just once. That's all it took. Name? She didn't look up from her screen. Noah Reed. I have a 3 o'clock with third door on the left. Someone will collect you. He almost said thank you, but she'd already turned away, fingers flying across a keyboard, already forgetting he existed. Noah found the third door. Inside was a conference room that could have doubled as a modern art installation. White leather chairs around a table, made of something that definitely wasn't wood, but cost more anyway. Windows overlooking the city like it was a kingdom to be surveyed. He sat, waited, tried not to think about Ella. 3:15 came and went, then 3:30. Noah checked his phone 4 times, watched the battery drop to 18%, wondered if he should have brought the charger, but knew he'd need it more tonight when Ella wanted to video chat before bed like she always did. His daughter, 7 years old, currently at his sister Beth's apartment across town, probably doing homework at the kitchen table, probably asking every 10 minutes when Daddy would be done with his important meeting. Noah's chest tightened. He forced himself to breathe. At 3:45, the door opened. The woman who entered didn't walk so much as cut through space. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark suit that probably cost more than Noah's monthly rent. Hair pulled back so tight it looked like it hurt. Eyes the color of steel in winter. She moved to the head of the table, set down a leather folder, and finally looked at him. Really looked. Her expression shifted. Just slightly. Just enough. Confusion, maybe. Or calculation. "You're not David Chen," she said. Noah's stomach dropped. "I'm sorry?" "David Chen, MIT grad. 3 years at Goldman. That's who I'm supposed to be interviewing right now." She opened the folder, scanned a page. "You're Noah Reed." The words came out steady, even though his mind was already racing ahead, already seeing how this ended. "I think there's been a mistake. Clearly." She closed the folder, sat back, studied him like he was a problem to be solved or dismissed. "How did you get in here?" "The recruiter sent me an email, told me to be here at 3. I showed my ID downstairs. They gave me a visitor badge. I came up." He pulled out his phone, thumbed through his emails with fingers that wanted to shake but didn't. "Here, look." He slid the phone across the table. She picked it up, scanned the screen, her mouth tightening into a line. "This email was meant for David Chen," she said finally. "Someone in HR copied the wrong name into the calendar invite." "I see. You showed up to an interview you weren't actually invited to." "I showed up to an interview I was told to attend." Noah kept his voice level. "I didn't know there was a mistake." Silence stretched between them like a wire pulled taut. Then she handed back his phone. "I'm Victoria Kane, CEO of Meridian Holdings." Noah had heard the name, seen it in business articles Beth sometimes left open on her laptop. Meridian Holdings, investment firm, venture capital. The kind of company that decided which startups lived and which died. The kind of place where people like him didn't usually get past the lobby. I appreciate your time, Noah said, standing. I'll let myself out. Sit down. It wasn't a request. Noah sat. Victoria leaned forward, elbows on the table, fingers steepled. You came prepared for an interview today. I assume you brought a resume? I did, but nothing. I have 23 minutes before my next meeting. You're here. I'm here. Let's not waste the trip. She held out her hand. Resume. Noah hesitated, then reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out the single sheet of paper he'd printed at the library that morning. 60 cents well spent, he'd thought at the time. Now he wasn't sure. She took it, read it in silence. Her expression gave nothing away. No college degree, she said finally. No. You worked at Brennan Logistics for 6 years. Warehouse supervisor. Then 2 years at a mid-sized firm doing operations coordination. She looked up. That's vague. I fixed problems, Noah said simply. When shipments got delayed, I found solutions. When systems broke down, I kept things moving. When people couldn't figure out how to make things work, I figured it out. And you left because? The company folded. Market shift. They didn't adapt fast enough. You have a gap here. 8 months. Noah's jaw tightened. 8 months. The worst 8 months of his life. But he'd already decided he wasn't going to lie. Wasn't going to dress it up. Wasn't going to pretend he was something he wasn't. My wife passed away, he said quietly. Cancer. I had to take care of her. Then I had to figure out how to take care of our daughter alone. Victoria's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her eyes. Calculation, maybe. Or something that might have been human, buried deep. I'm sorry for your loss, she said, and the words sounded rehearsed, like something she'd been taught to say in sensitivity training. Thank you. She set down the resume, looked at him again, really looked, like she was trying to see past the tired eyes and the worn jacket and the 8-month gap that screamed liability to anyone reading between the lines. Why are you here, Mr. Reed? Because I need work. That's honest, at least. She tapped one finger against the table. But this position, the one David Chen was supposed to interview for, it's senior analyst, high-pressure environment, long hours. We're talking 60, 70 hours a week sometimes. Late nights. Weekends when deals are closing. She paused. You have a daughter, 7 years old, I assume, based on timeline. You assume right. Who takes care of her when you're working those long hours? The question landed like a fist. I'll figure it out, Noah said. I always do. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. He met her eyes, held them. Look, I know I'm not who you were expecting. I know I don't have the degree or the pedigree or whatever it is people like David Chen bring through that door, but I work harder than anyone you'll meet. I solve problems that need solving, and I don't quit, ever. Everyone quits eventually. Not me. Victoria leaned back, arms crossed. Silence filled the room like water rising. Then she did something Noah didn't expect. She smiled, not warmly, not kindly, but something that might have been respect or at least recognition. You have nerve, she said. I'll give you that. I have bills to pay. Nerve is a luxury I can't afford. Fair. She stood, walked to the window, looked out at the city below. Here's the problem, Mr. Reed. If I hire you, people will talk. They'll say I made a sympathy hire. They'll say I lowered our standards. They'll question my judgment. Then don't hire me. She turned, eyebrow raised. Just like that? Just like that. I didn't come here to be anyone's charity case. Noah stood too, pushed his chair in carefully, the way his mother had taught him years ago. Thank you for your time, Ms. Kane. He was halfway to the door when she spoke again. Start Monday, 7 a.m. sharp. HR will send the paperwork tonight. Noah stopped, turned. Victoria was still at the window, her back to him, silhouette sharp against the light. I'm sorry, what? You heard me. Unless you'd like to negotiate the start date? No, Noah's mind was racing. You're serious. I don't joke about hiring decisions. She faced him now, expression unreadable. You'll start as a junior analyst. The pay is 68,000 base, plus performance bonuses. Health insurance kicks in after 90 days. You'll report to Marcus Tate. He's exacting, impatient, and doesn't suffer fools. But if you're half as competent as you claim, you'll survive. Noah couldn't speak. 68,000, health insurance, a real job with a real company, not another warehouse shift or temp position that would evaporate the moment business slowed down. He thought of Ella, thought of the overdue rent notice sitting on his sister's counter, thought of the phone call he'd have to make tonight, the one where he could finally tell Beth that things were going to be okay. Thank you, he managed. Don't thank me yet. You haven't met Marcus. Victoria returned to the table, picked up her folder. And Mr. Reed, whatever made you walk through that door today, wrong room, right room, divine intervention, cosmic mistake, remember it, because the next few months are going to test whether you actually meant what you said about not quitting. I meant it. We'll see. She walked past him, heels clicking against marble, already moving to her next meeting, her next decision, her next problem to solve. Noah stood alone in the conference room for a long moment, looking at the chair where he'd sat, the table where he'd placed his resume, the window where Victoria Kane had stood and changed his life with a handful of words. Then he left, took the elevator down, walked through the lobby, stepped out into afternoon sunlight that felt different than it had an hour ago, warmer maybe, or just less heavy. He pulled out his phone, 17% battery. He'd make it last. Beth answered on the second ring. How'd it go? Tell Ella her dad's got a job. The sound she made, half laugh, half sob, was worth every month of struggle, every sleepless night, every moment he'd wondered if he'd ever find his footing again. Noah, oh my God, I start Monday. I'm so proud of you. Don't be proud yet, he said, echoing Victoria's words without meaning to. I haven't actually done anything. You showed up. That's something. Maybe it was. Maybe that's all anything ever was. Showing up, even when the odds were stacked wrong, even when you didn't belong, even when every logical reason said to walk away. I gotta go, Noah said. Battery's dying, but tell Ella I'll call her tonight, okay? She'll be waiting. He hung up, stood on the sidewalk outside Meridian Holdings' glass tower, briefcase in hand, worn jacket catching the breeze, and for the first time in longer than he could remember, Noah Reed let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, he was going to be okay. He had no idea what was waiting for him inside that building. No idea about the battles coming, no idea that Victoria Kane's decision, impulsive, strange, completely unlike her, would set off a chain reaction neither of them could control. But that would come later. For now, he had a phone call to make and a daughter to hug and a weekend to get through before Monday morning arrived and the real test began. Monday came too fast and not fast enough. Noah stood outside the Meridian Holdings building at 6:45, coffee in hand, cheap bodega coffee, not the fancy stuff from the place next door where a small cost $7, and tried to slow his heartbeat to something that wouldn't show on his face. First day. New job. Don't screw it up. He'd dropped Ella at school early, kissed her forehead twice, promised her he'd pick her up at exactly 3:30, even though he had no idea if that was actually possible. Beth had given him a look, the one that said, be careful, don't hope too hard. But she'd hugged him anyway, told him he'd do great. Now here he stood, 7 a.m. sharp, just like Victoria had said. The lobby was different in the morning, busier, louder, full of people who moved like they owned the place because maybe they did. Noah showed his new ID badge to security, got waved through, took the elevator to the 47th floor. The doors opened. If the floor had seemed intimidating on Friday, it was nothing compared to now. Every desk occupied, every screen glowing, every person dressed like they'd stepped out of a catalog he couldn't afford to browse. A young woman appeared beside him, early 20s, tablet in hand, smile that was probably required by her job description. Noah Reed? That's me. Excellent. I'm Simone. I'll be getting you set up, if you'll follow me. She moved fast. Noah followed, catching glimpses of the space as they went. Open floor plan, standing desks, a coffee bar that looked nicer than most restaurants, Floor-to-ceiling windows letting in light that made everything look clean and expensive and just slightly unreal. "This is your desk," Simone said, stopping at a workstation near the eastern windows. "Computer's already set up with your credentials. Phone extension is on the card there. Marcus will be by around 8 to brief you, but in the meantime, I've left some onboarding materials for you to review." Onboarding materials turned out to be a 3-inch binder. "Any questions?" Simone asked brightly. "About 1,000. But Noah just shook his head. "I'm good, thank you." "Great. Oh, and welcome to Meridian. We're so excited to have you." She disappeared before he could respond. Noah set down his coffee, looked at his desk, his computer, his chair, the kind with lumbar support and adjustable everything, the kind he'd never had at any job before. He sat down carefully, like the chair might break. The computer screen blinked to life. A welcome message appeared, along with approximately 17 different applications he'd need to learn, 3 password reset requirements, and a mandatory HR video about workplace conduct that was queued and ready to play. Noah opened the binder, started reading. Around him, the office hummed. Conversations floated past. Talk of markets and portfolios and deals in the pipeline. Laughter from somewhere near the coffee bar. The rhythmic clicking of keyboards like 100 small clocks all ticking toward something. He was 3 pages into the employee handbook when a shadow fell across his desk. Noah looked up. The man standing there was tall, thin, wearing glasses that probably cost more than Noah's entire outfit. His expression suggested he'd just discovered something unpleasant on the bottom of his shoe. "You're Reed," the man said. Not a question. "I am." "Marcus Tate. I'm your supervisor." He didn't offer his hand. "You're early." "You said 7 a.m. sharp." "Ms. Kane said 7 a.m. sharp. I said nothing." Marcus's eyes swept over Noah's desk. The cheap coffee, the employee handbook, the jacket hung carefully over the chair back. "But I suppose punctuality is a start." Noah stood, extended his hand. "Good to meet you." Marcus looked at the offered hand like it was a foreign object, then shook it once, briefly, the way you'd handle something you needed to dispose of quickly. "Let's establish some ground rules," Marcus said, already moving on. "I run a tight team. We have quotas. We have deadlines. We have standards. Everyone here has advanced degrees from top-tier schools. Everyone here has experience in high-pressure environments. Everyone here earned their place." The emphasis on earned wasn't subtle. "I understand," Noah said evenly. "Do you? Because I'm going to be blunt, Reed. I don't know what you did to impress Ms. Kane, but this isn't a charity. You're going to have to prove you belong here, every single day." "I intend to." "Intention is meaningless. Results are what matter." Marcus pulled a folder from under his arm, dropped it on Noah's desk. "These are your first assignments, market analysis on 3 portfolio companies. I need preliminary reports by end of week. That's Friday, 5 p.m. Not 5:01. Not I'll have it Monday. 5 p.m. Friday." Noah picked up the folder. It was heavy. "Questions?" Marcus asked. "Just one. What resources do I have access to?" "Everything everyone else has. Database credentials are in your welcome email. If you can't figure out the systems, find someone to teach you. I don't have time to hold hands." Marcus checked his watch, Rolex Noah noticed, or something that looked like one. "I have a meeting. Get started." He left. Noah sat back down, opened the folder. 30 pages of briefing materials. Financial statements. Market projections. Competitor analysis. The kind of dense technical information that would have made his eyes cross 2 years ago. But Noah had learned a long time ago that the only way through difficulty was straight ahead. He opened the first document, started reading. An hour later, he'd made it through the first company profile and filled half a legal pad with notes. His coffee had gone cold. His shoulders ached from hunching over the desk. But he was starting to see the shape of things, the patterns in the data, the questions that needed asking, the gaps Marcus probably wanted him to identify. "You're the new guy." Noah looked up. A woman stood beside his desk, late 20s, red hair pulled into a ponytail, coffee cup that said, "I'm not arguing. I'm just explaining why I'm right." "Guilty," Noah said. Claudia Reeves. I sit over there. She gestured vaguely toward the northern end of the floor. Heard you impressed Kane somehow. That true? I showed up to the wrong interview and didn't leave when I probably should have. Claudia laughed. So the rumor mill got it half right. They're saying you're some kind of secret genius she discovered. I'm not. Good. Secret geniuses are exhausting to work with. She sipped her coffee. Fair warning, Marcus is going to ride you hard. He does that with everyone new, but especially with anyone who didn't come through the usual channels. Just keep your head down, do the work, and don't take it personally. I wasn't planning to. Smart. Claudia turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and if you need help figuring out the database systems, I'm around. They're a nightmare the first week. I appreciate that. She nodded and disappeared into the maze of desks. Noah went back to his work. The morning blurred past. He made notes, cross-referenced data, started building the framework for his first report. Around 11:30, his stomach reminded him he hadn't eaten, but the thought of stopping, of losing momentum, felt wrong. He kept working. At 12:15, Marcus appeared again. Lunch is noon to 1, he said without preamble. You're still here. I was making progress, didn't want to lose the thread. Marcus's expression suggested this was either admirable or suspicious. Noah couldn't tell which. There's a cafeteria on 42. Use it. Marcus glanced at Noah's screen, scanned the spreadsheet open there. That's the Barton Industries file. Yes, sir. Their Q3 numbers are misleading. Look at the footnotes in the 10K, Section 7. Revenue recognition changed mid-year. It's buried, but it matters. He left before Noah could respond. Noah pulled up the 10K, found Section 7. Marcus was right. The revenue recognition policy had shifted, changing how certain contracts were counted. It was subtle, easy to miss, and it completely altered the interpretation of their growth metrics. Noah made a note, adjusted his analysis. He was starting to understand that Marcus's brusqueness wasn't personal. It was just how the man operated. Efficient, direct, testing whether Noah could keep up. Challenge accepted. By Friday afternoon, Noah had barely slept. 3 reports, all due at 5 p.m. He'd worked through lunch every day, stayed until 7 or 8 each night, then gone home to help Ella with homework and put her to bed before collapsing into his own. Then up at 5 a.m. to review his work before the day started. Now it was 4:47 p.m., and he was reading through his final report one last time, checking for errors, making sure every number tracked, every conclusion followed from the evidence. At 4:58, he hit send. All 3 reports, delivered to Marcus's inbox with 2 minutes to spare. Noah sat back, exhaled. His eyes burned, his back ached. But it was done. He was packing up, shutting down his computer, gathering the notes he'd need for weekend review, when Marcus appeared. Reed, my office. Noah's stomach dropped, but he followed. Marcus's office was exactly what you'd expect. Minimalist, organized, everything in its place. He gestured for Noah to sit, then pulled up something on his screen. I've reviewed your reports, Marcus said, and they're adequate. Coming from Marcus, Noah suspected that might actually be praise. The Barton analysis was solid. You caught the revenue recognition issue I flagged, extrapolated the implications, and made a reasonable projection for Q4. The Chen manufacturing report was thorough, if a bit conservative in your risk assessment, and the vertical systems analysis. Marcus paused. You found something I didn't know was there. Noah waited. The subsidiary in Taiwan. You dug into their supply chain, cross-referenced shipping manifests with reported inventory, and identified a discrepancy. A small one, but potentially significant. Marcus looked at him over his glasses. How did you even think to check that? I worked logistics for 6 years, Noah said. When numbers don't match between what's shipped and what's reported, it usually means someone's cooking books, cutting corners, or both. Indeed. Marcus closed the file. I'm going to send your vertical systems analysis to Miss Kane. She'll want to see it before our Monday meeting with their CEO. Okay. That's not an invitation to relax, Reed. This was week 1, the easy week. It gets harder. I understand. Marcus's expression softened just slightly, just for a second. You did good work. Don't let it go to your head. I won't. Then get out of here. It's Friday night. I assume you have somewhere to be. Noah did. He had a daughter waiting. He left Marcus's office, grabbed his jacket, and made it to the elevator just as his phone buzzed. Beth. Ella's asking when you'll be home. Should I tell her soon? Noah. Tell her I'm on my way. The elevator descended, 47 floors of glass and steel, and people who still weren't sure he belonged. But he'd made it through week 1. Proved he could do the work. Now he just had to prove it again. And again. And again. For however long it took until the whispers stopped, and the doubt faded, and people looked at him like he'd earned his place instead of stumbled into it. The lobby doors opened. Evening light spilled across marble floors. Noah stepped out into the weekend, already thinking about Monday, already preparing for whatever came next. He had no idea that his analysis, the one Marcus was sending to Victoria Kane, would trigger a chain of events that would test everything he'd said about not quitting. But that storm was still gathering. For now, he had a subway to catch, and a daughter to hug, and a weekend that felt like victory, even if it was small, even if it was fragile, even if it wouldn't last. The whispers started on Tuesday. Noah noticed them the way you notice a shift in temperature. Nothing obvious, nothing you could point to exactly, but present all the same. Conversations that stopped when he walked past. Glances that lasted a beat too long. The kind of attention that didn't feel like welcome. He was at the coffee bar, filling his 3rd cup of the morning, when he caught the tail end of it. Don't care what Kane says. It sets a bad precedent. You think Marcus is happy about it? Marcus doesn't get paid to be happy. He gets paid to make the numbers work. Noah kept his eyes on the coffee pot. Poured slowly. Gave them time to notice him and stop, which they did, voices cutting off mid-sentence like someone had flipped a switch. When he turned, 2 analysts were suddenly very interested in their phones. He recognized one. Justin Park, Harvard MBA, always wore ties that probably cost more than Noah's grocery budget. The other was newer, a blonde woman whose name Noah hadn't learned yet. Morning, Noah said evenly. Morning, Justin replied, not looking up. Noah took his coffee back to his desk. The conversation replayed in his head, but he pushed it aside. People were going to talk. That was fine. Let them talk. He had work to do. Marcus had assigned him a new project, due diligence on a potential acquisition, a mid-sized logistics company called Paxton Freight, the kind of detailed analysis that required digging through years of financial records, interviewing management, assessing operational efficiency, the kind of project that would normally go to someone with more experience. The fact that Marcus had given it to Noah meant something. He just wasn't sure what yet. By Wednesday afternoon, he had a clearer picture. Paxton Freight looked good on paper. Solid revenue growth, expanding market share, management that talked a good game. But something felt off. The numbers were too clean, too consistent. Real businesses had bumps, irregularities, quarters that underperformed. Paxton's financials read like someone had smoothed them with a ruler. Noah dug deeper, pulled shipping manifests, cross-referenced them with reported deliveries, started building a timeline of actual operations versus what the company claimed. The discrepancies were small at first. A few missing shipments here. Some inventory that didn't quite match there. Nothing you'd catch unless you were looking for it. But Noah had learned a long time ago that small inconsistencies were usually symptoms of bigger problems. He was 3 spreadsheets deep when Claudia appeared at his desk. You eat lunch? She asked. Noah glanced at the clock. 2:47 p.m. Not yet. It's almost 3, Reed. You're going to burn out. I'm fine. That's what everyone says right before they're not fine. She dropped a protein bar on his desk. Eat something, doctor's orders. You're not a doctor. I have a PhD in economics, which means I'm technically a doctor, just not the useful kind. She perched on the edge of his desk. What are you working on that's got you skipping meals? Paxton Freight. Oh, that mess. Marcus assigned you that? Is it a mess? Claudia gave him a look. You tell me. You're the one who's been staring at spreadsheets for 6 hours. Noah leaned back, rubbed his eyes. Their numbers are too perfect. Nobody's that consistent unless they're hiding something. Have you told Marcus? Not until I can prove it. Smart. He doesn't like theories without evidence. Claudia stood, brushed invisible dust from her skirt. For what it's worth, you're right to be suspicious. I looked at Paxton 6 months ago, recommended we pass. Management didn't like that. Why'd they bring it back up? Because the CEO is friends with someone on our board. And when board members make suggestions, they're not really suggestions. She started to walk away, then stopped. Noah? Be careful with this one. Politics are involved. She left him with that. Noah ate the protein bar, went back to work. By Thursday morning, he had enough. The pattern was clear once you knew where to look. Paxton was inflating delivery numbers, booking revenue on shipments that hadn't actually happened, using shell contracts to paper over the gaps. It was clever, almost elegant in how the pieces fit together. But it was fraud, plain and simple. Noah compiled everything into a report, 40 pages of evidence, timeline, and analysis. Then he sent it to Marcus with a subject line that read, Paxton Freight, recommendation to pass. 10 minutes later, Marcus appeared at his desk. My office. Now. Noah followed him, heart rate ticking up despite his best efforts to stay calm. Marcus closed the door, gestured for Noah to sit. Then he pulled up the report on his screen and read it in silence while Noah waited. The silence stretched. Finally, Marcus looked up. You're certain about this? Yes. Because if you're wrong, we lose a deal worth $40 million and piss off a board member in the process. I'm not wrong. Walk me through it. Noah did. Showed him the shipping manifests, explained the timeline, pointed out the ghost contracts that existed on paper but had no corresponding deliveries, laid out the pattern of inflation that went back 3 years, maybe longer. Marcus listened without interrupting. When Noah finished, he sat back, fingers steepled, expression unreadable. This is solid work, Marcus said finally. Thank you. It's also going to create a problem. I know. Do you? Because the CEO of Paxton is having dinner with our board tomorrow night. This deal has momentum. People are invested in seeing it happen, and you're about to be the reason it doesn't. Noah met his eyes. Would you rather I'd buried it? No. But I need you to understand what you're walking into. Marcus turned his monitor so Noah could see it. An email chain, dozens of messages, people with titles like managing director and board liaison, all discussing Paxton like it was already a done deal. These people don't like being told they're wrong, especially not by someone who's been here 3 weeks. So what do you want me to do? Present your findings to Ms. Kane tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Bring everything. Be ready to defend every conclusion. Marcus's expression was stone. And Reed, don't make me regret backing you on this. I won't. We'll see. That night, Noah stayed until almost 10, triple-checking every number, every citation, every piece of evidence. He couldn't afford a single mistake. Not with board members involved. Not with $40 million on the line. When he finally got home, Ella was already asleep. Beth was waiting up, reading a book in the kitchen. Long day? She asked. Something like that. Noah poured himself water, drank half the glass. How was she? Good. Finished her homework without complaining, ate all her vegetables, asked about you approximately 15 times. I'll make it up to her this weekend. Beth set down her book. Noah, you say that every week. I know. And every week you work through half of Saturday and most of Sunday. I'm not judging, I'm just... She stopped, started again. Are they working you too hard? I'm working myself hard. There's a difference. Is there? Noah looked at his sister, 10 years older, always trying to take care of him, even now, even when he was supposedly the one who had it together. I'm okay, Beth. I promise. You look exhausted. I am exhausted, but I'm also proving something. To them, to myself. He finished the water. I just need a little more time. Time for what? To make them forget I don't belong here. Beth's expression softened. Noah, you wouldn't be there if you didn't belong. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because I know you, and you don't fake your way through anything. Noah wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe he'd earned his place through merit rather than stumbling into it through cosmic accident. But the whispers at the coffee bar, the careful distance people kept, the way Justin Park looked at him like he was an imposter, all of it said otherwise. He went to bed, didn't sleep much, kept running through the presentation in his head, anticipating questions, preparing answers. At 5 a.m., he gave up on sleep, showered, made coffee, reviewed his notes one more time. By 8:30, he was back at Meridian, sitting outside Victoria Kane's office, folder in hand, trying to keep his breathing steady. At 8:58, the door opened. Victoria appeared, phone to her ear, talking to someone about market positions and hedge ratios. She saw Noah, held up one finger, wait, and disappeared back inside. Noah waited. At 9:07, she called him in. Mr. Reed, I understand you have concerns about Paxton Freight. I do. Marcus says you've found evidence of fraud. Yes, ma'am. Victoria sat behind her desk, fingers drumming once against the polished surface. Show me. Noah opened his folder, laid out the spreadsheets, walked her through it the same way he'd walked Marcus through it, methodically, carefully, letting the evidence speak. Victoria listened in silence, asked questions that cut straight to the heart of things, tested his conclusions, poked at the weak points in his analysis. Noah held his ground, answered everything, showed her the data that supported each claim. When he finished, Victoria sat back, expression unreadable. You realize this creates a significant problem, she said. Marcus mentioned that. Did he mention that Richard Paxton, the CEO, is golfing buddies with two of our board members? That this deal has been in motion for 6 months? That walking away now makes us look incompetent? No, ma'am. But that doesn't change what the numbers show. No, it doesn't. She looked at him, really looked, the way she had in that first interview. You've been here less than a month, Reed. You understand that, right? Most people would have kept their heads down, passed the problem up the chain, avoided making waves. I'm not most people, clearly. She closed the folder. I'm pulling the deal. Noah exhaled. Hadn't realized he'd been holding his breath. I'll present your findings to the board this afternoon. They're not going to be happy. Richard Paxton is going to be furious, and everyone involved is going to wonder how a junior analyst with no college degree spotted something our entire due diligence team missed. I can explain. You don't have to. I know exactly how. Victoria stood, walked to the window. You actually looked. You dug into the operational details instead of just running the financial models. You used the expertise everyone here thinks doesn't matter because it came from a warehouse floor instead of a classroom. She turned back to him. That's valuable, Reed. Don't lose it. Don't let this place sand down the edges that make you good at what you do. I won't. Make sure you don't. She checked her watch. You can go. Send me the full analysis. I'll handle it from here. Noah stood, started to leave, got to the door before she spoke again. One more thing. The people here are going to resent this. They're going to say you got lucky, that you made us look bad, that you don't know your place. Her eyes were steel. Ignore them. You did the right thing. That matters more than being liked. Yes, ma'am. And Reed, good work. Genuinely. He left before the gratitude in his chest could turn into something embarrassing like tears. Back at his desk, Noah tried to focus on other projects, but the adrenaline was still pumping, making it hard to concentrate. He'd just torpedoed a $40 million deal, pissed off board members, put himself in the crosshairs of people way above his pay grade, but he'd been right. The numbers didn't lie. That had to count for something. By noon, word had spread. Noah could feel it in the air, the tension, the curiosity, the resentment. He was getting coffee when Justin Park approached. Heard you killed the Paxton deal, Justin said. I presented findings. Ms. Kane made the call. Right, findings. Justin's smile didn't reach his eyes. Must be nice, being the teacher's pet. I don't know what you mean. Sure you don't. 3 weeks in and you're already getting FaceTime with Kane taking down major deals. Meanwhile, some of us have been grinding here for years without that kind of access. Noah kept his voice level. I was assigned a project. I did the work. That's all. That's all, Justin repeated. You really believe that? Yes. Then you're either naive or lying to yourself. Justin grabbed his coffee. Enjoy it while it lasts, Reed. Novelty wears off, and when it does, You're going to have to actually compete with people who earned their way here. He walked away before Noah could respond. Noah stood there, coffee cup warm in his hands, Justin's words echoing in his head. The resentment wasn't even hidden anymore. It was right there, out in the open, sharp-edged and personal. Fine. Let them resent him. He didn't come here to make friends. He came here to keep a roof over his daughter's head and prove he could do something more than survive. The afternoon blurred past. Noah kept his head down, worked through his queue, tried not to think about board meetings happening somewhere above him, conversations about the junior analyst who just cost them millions. At 4:30, his phone rang. Internal number. "Reed?" he answered. "It's Simone. Ms. Kane would like to see you. 5th floor, conference room B. When?" "Now." Noah's stomach tightened. He grabbed his notepad, took the elevator down 2 floors. Conference room B was smaller than the one where he'd first met Victoria. Round table, 6 chairs, windows overlooking the western skyline. Victoria was already there, so was Marcus. And 3 other people Noah didn't recognize. Older, expensive suits, the kind of presence that said board member without needing introduction. "Mr. Reed," Victoria said, "thank you for joining us. This is Robert Chen, Andrea Volkov, and James Hartley. They sit on our board of directors." Noah shook hands with each of them. Their grips were perfunctory. "We've been discussing your analysis of Paxton Freight," Robert Chen said. He was 60-something, gray hair, eyes like a shark. "Ms. Kane has recommended we terminate discussions based on your findings." "Yes, sir." "That's a significant recommendation. $40 million is not trivial." "I understand, sir." "Do you?" Andrea Volkov leaned forward. Russian accent, sharp cheekbones, expression that gave nothing away. "Because from where we sit, you're a junior analyst with no relevant experience making claims that contradict 6 months of due diligence. I'm making claims the evidence support," Noah said carefully. "Evidence you interpreted," James Hartley cut in. Texan drawl, bolo tie, folksy manner that didn't hide the calculation underneath. "Now, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I am saying this is convenient timing." "Convenient how?" "You're new. You want to make an impression. What better way than to find a problem nobody else saw?" Noah felt heat creeping up his neck, forced it down. "Sir, with respect, I didn't go looking for problems. I was assigned to analyze Paxton. I did the analysis. The fraud was there." "Alleged fraud," Robert corrected. "No, sir. Fraud. They're booking revenue on shipments that don't exist. I can show you—" "We've seen your spreadsheets," Andrea interrupted. "Very thorough, very detailed. But spreadsheets can be made to say anything if you torture the numbers hard enough." Marcus spoke for the first time. "The analysis is sound. I've reviewed it personally." "You've also got a reputation for being risk-averse, Marcus," James said. "No offense. None taken. But in this case, the risk isn't walking away. The risk is proceeding with an acquisition built on fraudulent reporting." "That's your opinion," Robert said. "It's the opinion backed by evidence," Victoria cut in, voice sharp. "Mr. Reed's analysis is detailed, thorough, and damning. Unless someone here can refute his findings, actually refute them, not just question his credentials, we're walking away from Paxton." Silence settled over the room. Robert Chen looked at Noah. Really looked. "You're certain about this, son?" "Yes, sir." "Stake your career on it certain?" Noah didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." Robert glanced at Andrea and James. Some unspoken communication passed between them. "Fine," Robert said finally. "We'll table Paxton. But Reed?" He locked eyes with Noah. "You better be right. Because if we find out later you cost us a good deal because you misread some shipping manifests, there will be consequences." "I understand. I hope you do." The meeting ended. Board members filed out. Marcus gave Noah a look that might have been approval or warning. Hard to tell. Victoria waited until everyone else had gone. "That went better than expected," she said dryly. "They think I'm making it up. They think you're inexperienced and possibly opportunistic. There's a difference." She gathered her papers. "But you held your ground. That matters." "Does it?" "Yes. Though I'd recommend not staking your career on every analysis you do. Eventually, you'll be wrong about something, and they'll remember you said that. Noted. Victoria paused at the door. Reed, you made enemies today. Powerful ones. Some of them are on our board. Others are going to hear about this and wonder who the hell you think you are. She met his eyes. Can you handle that? I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Then yes, I can handle it. Good, because it's about to get worse before it gets better. She left. Noah stood alone in the conference room, looking out at the city, at all the buildings full of people who belonged in places like this, who'd earned their way through the proper channels, who didn't have to defend every decision like it was a trial. His phone buzzed. Text from Beth. Ella wants to know if you're coming to her school thing tomorrow night. The art show? She's been asking all week, tomorrow night, Friday. The art show Ella had been preparing for, the one where her painting would be displayed alongside all the other second graders' work. The one she'd reminded him about every single day this week. Noah checked his calendar. He had a late meeting scheduled, earnings review. Probably wouldn't end before 7. The art show started at 6. He could skip the meeting, make an excuse, just this once. But Justin's words echoed back. Novelty wears off. And when it does, you're going to have to actually compete. If he started missing meetings now, started showing he couldn't handle the hours, couldn't keep up, they'd use it. They'd say he didn't have what it takes. That he was choosing his personal life over the company, that he didn't belong. Noah stared at his phone, at Beth's message, at the impossible choice. He typed back, I'll be there. He'd figure out how. He always did, even when figuring it out meant stretching himself so thin he could barely see straight. Even when it meant choosing between being the father Ella deserved and the employee Meridian expected. He'd make it work. He had to. Noah didn't make it to the art show. The earnings review ran long, then longer. By the time Marcus finally called it at 7:45, Noah's phone had 3 missed calls from Beth and a text from Ella that just said, "Where are you, Daddy?" with a sad face emoji that felt like a knife. He called back from the elevator. Beth answered on the first ring. I'm sorry, Noah said before she could speak. She waited by the door for an hour, Noah. An hour. Kept asking when you were coming. I know, I'm sorry. The meeting ran over and I couldn't. You promised her. I know I did. Silence on the other end. Then Beth's voice, quieter, tired. She cried herself to sleep. Noah closed his eyes, leaned against the elevator wall. Let me talk to her. She's asleep, Noah. I just told you that. Tomorrow then, first thing. Tomorrow you'll have another meeting, another crisis, another reason why work comes first. Beth exhaled. I'm not trying to make you feel worse. I know you're doing your best, but your best is starting to look a lot like absence. The elevator doors opened. Noah stepped into the lobby, into artificial light and marble floors, and the reflection of someone who looked like him but felt like a stranger. I'll make it up to her, Seth, he said. How? He didn't have an answer. Beth hung up. Noah stood there, phone in hand, people flowing around him like water around a stone. He should go home. Should see Ella, even if she was sleeping. Should at least be in the same apartment as his daughter, instead of standing in a lobby trying to justify choices that didn't feel like choices at all. But the thought of seeing her painting, the one she'd worked on for weeks, the one she'd been so excited about, hanging on some school wall he'd never visited, made something twist in his chest. He couldn't fix tonight. But maybe he could do something about the pattern Beth was right to call out. Noah pulled up his calendar, looked at the next 2 weeks. Meetings stacked on meetings, deadlines, projects, the machinery of a life that was supposed to be better than the one before, but just felt like a different kind of grinding. Something had to change. He just didn't know what. The weekend was a blur of trying to make things right. Noah took Ella to the park on Saturday, pushed her on the swings until his arms ached, bought her ice cream even though it was too cold for ice cream. She forgave him the way kids do, quickly, completely, without holding grudges. But the hurt was still there in her eyes when she thought he wasn't looking. Sunday night, after she was asleep, Beth cornered him in the kitchen. You can't keep doing this, she said. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you're making the same mistakes just in a nicer building. Noah set down the dish he'd been washing. That's not fair, isn't it? When Sarah was sick, you worked yourself to the bone trying to pay medical bills. Now she's gone, and you're still working yourself to the bone, just for different reasons. I'm trying to build something stable for Ella. Ella doesn't need stability, Noah. She needs her father. Beth crossed her arms. What happens when the school calls because she's sick and you're in a meeting? What happens when she has a recital or a game or just needs you to show up? I'll figure it out. That's what you keep saying, but figuring it out looks a lot like letting her down. The words hit harder because they were true. Noah knew it, had known it since Friday night when he'd chosen a meeting over his daughter's art show. But knowing something and being able to change it were different things. I don't know what you want me to do, he said quietly. I want you to set boundaries. Tell your boss you have a kid. Tell them you can't work until 8 every night. Tell them something other than yes for once. They'll fire me. Maybe. Or maybe they'll respect you for it. Beth's expression softened. Noah, you're good at what you do. Even I can see that. But being good doesn't mean letting them take everything. She left him with that thought. Monday morning arrived too fast. Noah got to the office at 7, coffee in hand, determined to find some kind of balance even if he had no idea what that looked like. At his desk, he found a note from Marcus. See me when you get in. Noah headed to Marcus's office. Found him on the phone, gesturing for Noah to sit and wait. I don't care what their timeline is, Marcus was saying. Our timeline is what matters. Tell them we'll have preliminary numbers by Wednesday or they can find another firm. He hung up without saying goodbye. Looked at Noah. Paxton's lawyers sent a letter. They're threatening to sue. For what? Tortious interference? Defamation? The usual garbage companies throw around when you catch them cheating. Marcus leaned back. Don't worry about it. Our legal team will handle it, but I wanted you to know. Okay? How'd you spend your weekend? The question caught Noah off guard. Marcus didn't do small talk. With my daughter, Noah said carefully. Good. You should. Marcus pulled up something on his screen. I'm taking you off the Richards account. Noah's stomach dropped. Did I do something wrong? No, you did it right, which is why I'm reassigning it. Richards needs someone who can travel. 3 days in Chicago next week, probably a week in Boston the week after. You have a kid. Someone else can do it. I can make it work. I'm sure you can, but you shouldn't have to. Marcus looked at him over his glasses. Reed, I'm not running a charity here, but I'm also not interested in burning out good analysts because they're too stubborn to say when something doesn't fit. You've got a daughter. Act like it. Noah didn't know what to say. Claudia will take Richards, Marcus continued. I'm putting you on the Steel Corporation analysis instead. Same complexity, less travel. Questions? No, sir? Then get to work. Noah returned to his desk, mind still processing. Marcus had just given him exactly what Beth said he needed to ask for. Boundaries, accommodation, recognition that he had a life outside this building. And he'd done it without Noah having to request it. Maybe Beth was right. Maybe setting boundaries didn't mean getting fired. Maybe it just meant working for people who understood that humans weren't machines. He opened the Steel Corporation file, started reading. 2 hours later, Claudia appeared at his desk. Heard you got pulled from Richards, she said. Yeah. You okay with that? I think so. It's weird, having someone make an accommodation without me asking. Claudia smiled. Marcus acts like a robot, but he pays attention. He knows you've got a kid, knows you missed some school thing Friday night, knows you came in Saturday morning at 6 to make up work. She paused. He also knows you're good at this. He's not going to waste that by running you into the ground. How do you know I came in Saturday? Building security logs. Marcus checks them. She saw Noah's expression. It's not creepy. Well, it's a little creepy. But mostly it's him making sure people aren't just coasting. He wants to know who's actually putting in effort. And then what? He uses it against them? No, he uses it to figure out how to keep them. Claudia glanced toward Marcus's office. You know he's got a kid too, right? Daughter, 15. Lives with her mom in Connecticut. He drives up every other weekend, never misses a visit. Never talks about it either. But it's why he gets it. Paul mashul annen. Noah hadn't known that, hadn't thought of Marcus as anything other than the exacting supervisor who seemed to exist only within these walls. Anyway, Claudia said, I just wanted to make sure you weren't spiraling. Sometimes when people get reassigned, they think it means they screwed up. I did screw up, just not here. Then fix it. The job will still be here tomorrow. She walked away, leaving Noah alone with the steel file and thoughts that wouldn't settle. That evening, Noah left at 6. Actually left, didn't stay late, didn't check email one more time. He picked up Ella from Beth's apartment, took her to the diner 3 blocks over, the one with the red booths and the waitress who always remembered to bring extra whipped cream for Ella's hot chocolate. Daddy, can I ask you something? Ella said, carefully coloring the kids' menu placemat. Always. Are you happy at your new job? The question stopped him. Why do you ask? Because you're tired all the time, and you missed my art show. She didn't look up from her coloring. Ms. Patterson said maybe your job is too hard. Ms. Patterson is your teacher? Yeah. She asked where you were, and I said you had work, and she said that's too bad. That work shouldn't be more important than art shows. Noah reached across the table, gently took the crayon from Ella's hand so she'd look at him. Ms. Patterson is right, he said. Work shouldn't be more important than your art show. I messed up, kiddo. I should have been there. It's okay, Daddy. No, it's not, but I'm going to do better. I promise. You always promise. The words were matter-of-fact, not accusatory, which somehow made them worse. This time I mean it, Noah said. Okay. Ella went back to coloring. Can we get pancakes? I know it's dinner, but I really want pancakes. We can get whatever you want. They ordered pancakes, ate slowly, talked about school and Ella's friend Maya and the new book she was reading. Normal things, easy things. The kind of conversation Noah realized he hadn't had with his daughter in weeks because he'd been too tired or distracted or guilty. Walking back to Beth's apartment, Ella's hand in his, Noah made a decision. Tomorrow he'd talk to Marcus, set actual boundaries, real ones, not just hopes that things would magically work out. He'd explain what he needed, not as a request for special treatment, but as a statement of what was sustainable. And if they fired him for it, then maybe this job wasn't the answer he'd thought it was. But he didn't think they'd fire him. Marcus had already shown him that. Sometimes you just had to trust that doing the right thing wouldn't destroy everything. Tuesday morning, Noah arrived at 7:30 instead of 7. Small change, but deliberate. He made coffee, settled at his desk, and spent the first hour actually planning his day instead of just reacting to whatever crisis came first. At 8:15, Marcus walked past. Reed, my office. Here we go, Noah thought. He followed Marcus inside, sat down, waited. The steel analysis, Marcus said without preamble. How far did you get? About 30%. Initial financials look solid, but I want to dig into their supply chain before drawing conclusions. Good. Do that. Marcus paused. I'm going to ask you something, and I want an honest answer. Can you handle the workload we're giving you? Noah took a breath. If by handle you mean work 70 hours a week and never see my daughter, then no. But if you mean deliver quality analysis on a reasonable timeline while maintaining boundaries, then yes. Marcus's expression didn't change. Define reasonable timeline. I can get you steel by end of next week. Thorough analysis. Nothing rushed. But I need to leave by 6 most days. I have a 7-year-old who needs dinner and homework help, and a parent who shows up. And if there's a crisis, if something needs to be done by morning, then I'll do it. But crisis can't be the default setting. Noah met Marcus's eyes. I'm good at this work. You know I am, but I'm also a single father, and that's not something I can compartmentalize away. If that's a problem, tell me now. Silence stretched between them. Then Marcus did something unexpected. He smiled, just slightly, just enough to be visible. You've got spine, Reed. I wondered when it'd show up. Is that a yes or a no? It's a yes with conditions. You leave at 6, that's fine. But when you're here, no half focus, no coasting. You deliver quality work on time. I don't care if you do it in 40 hours or 70. Deal. And Reed, if your daughter has something important, art shows, school events, whatever, put it on your calendar. Block the time. I'll work around it. Oshim oi mtet. Noah blinked. Seriously? Do I look like I'm joking? I told you. I have a daughter too. I know what it's like trying to be two people at once. Marcus turned back to his computer. Now get out of here. That steel analysis won't write itself. Noah stood, started to leave, then stopped. Thank you. Thank me by doing good work. That's how this relationship functions. Yes, sir. Back at his desk, Noah felt something loosen in his chest, something he hadn't realized was clenched tight. He opened his calendar, scrolled forward, found Ella's next school event, a class play in 3 weeks. He blocked off the entire afternoon, marked it high priority. Then he got to work. The next 2 weeks fell into a rhythm that actually felt sustainable. Noah worked hard during office hours, left at 6 unless there was genuine urgency, and spent evenings being present for Ella. He helped with homework, made dinner that wasn't takeout, read her bedtime stories instead of falling asleep the moment his head hit the pillow. And the work didn't suffer. If anything, it got better. Having boundaries meant using his time efficiently instead of letting it bleed into endless hours of diminishing returns. The steel analysis came together cleanly. Noah found some concerns. Nothing deal-breaking like Paxton, but enough that he recommended additional due diligence before moving forward. Marcus approved the recommendation. The board accepted it without pushback. Progress. Actual, visible progress. But not everyone was happy about it. Noah was in the break room, refilling his water bottle, when Justin appeared. Heard Marcus is giving you the soft treatment, Justin said. I don't know what that means. Leaving at 6, no travel, getting your schedule accommodated. Justin smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Must be nice being the diversity hire who gets special rules. Noah's hand tightened around the water bottle. I'm not a diversity hire. Sure you are. No degree, no experience, no qualifications. But you've got a sad story, and Kane likes projects. Justin leaned against the counter. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure you work hard. But let's not pretend you'd be here if you were playing by the same rules as everyone else. I've delivered every project assigned to me, on time, with quality work. Because you're getting softballs. Steel? That's a basic analysis. Richards would have actually tested you, but oh wait, you got pulled from that too. Justin grabbed his coffee. Like I said, must be nice. He walked away before Noah could formulate a response. Noah stood there, water bottle in hand, anger and doubt warring in his chest. Was Justin right? Was he getting special treatment? Were the projects easier because Marcus didn't trust him with the complex ones? Or because Marcus was making accommodations? And did it matter if the work got done? He didn't know. Wasn't sure he wanted to know. Back at his desk, Noah tried to focus. But Justin's words kept circling back, picking at insecurities he'd thought he'd buried. An hour later, Claudia appeared. Heard Justin gave you his diversity hire speech, she said. Word travels fast. This floor's a fishbowl. Everything's visible. She sat on the edge of his desk. For what it's worth, he's full of it. Is he, though? I mean, I did get hired under unusual circumstances. I do get schedule accommodations. Maybe he's not wrong. Noah, everyone here gets accommodations for something. Justin leaves early twice a week for therapy. I work from home Fridays because I have a chronic condition. Marcus disappears every other weekend to see his kid. The difference is, we've been here long enough that people forgot to resent us for it. She paused. You're just new. And you're good, which makes it worse. People don't like being shown up by someone they decided didn't belong. So what do I do? Keep doing what you're doing. Let the work speak for itself. Eventually, the noise fades. Claudia stood. Or you can pull a power move and request the hardest project available. Prove you're not getting softballs. That feels like playing into the narrative. Maybe. Or maybe it feels like shutting them up. She left Noah with that thought. That evening, after Ella was asleep and Beth had gone to her own room, Noah sat at the kitchen table with his laptop, pulled up Meridian's current project list, scanned through what was available. Most of it was standard analysis work. A few were complex but manageable. Then he saw it. Hartman Industries, a massive conglomerate with operations in 12 countries, revenue streams so tangled they'd take months to unpack, and a reputation for being aggressive with anyone who tried to audit them. The project had been sitting unassigned for 3 weeks. Nobody wanted to touch it. Noah opened the file, read the briefing materials, felt his pulse quicken with something that might have been excitement or might have been terror. This was the kind of project that could make a career, or destroy one. He thought about Justin's words, about being given softballs, about proving he belonged. Then he thought about Ella, asleep in the next room, about the boundaries he'd just negotiated, about the sustainable rhythm he'd finally found. Taking Hartman would blow all of that up, would mean late nights and weekend work, and exactly the kind of grinding he'd promised Beth he'd stop doing. But it would also prove, to Justin, to himself, to everyone who thought he didn't belong, that he could handle the hardest thing they had. Noah stared at the screen, cursor blinking in the request field. It was a stupid idea, reckless, unnecessary. He typed, "I'd like to request assignment to the Hartman Industries analysis," hovered over send for a long moment. Then he deleted it. Not because he couldn't do it, but because he didn't need to prove anything to Justin Park or anyone else who'd already decided what they thought. The work he'd done spoke for itself. Paxton, Steele, every analysis that had crossed his desk. He'd delivered. That was proof enough. And if it wasn't, if people were determined to see him as a diversity hire or a charity case or whatever story made them comfortable, that was their problem. Not his. Noah closed the laptop, went to bed, slept better than he had in weeks. The next morning, he walked into Marcus's office with a different request. "I want to take on more complex analysis," Noah said. "Not Hartman. That's overkill. But something that stretches me. I'm ready for it." Marcus studied him. "What changed?" "I stopped trying to prove I belong and started just doing the work." "Good answer." Marcus pulled up his project queue. "There's a tech acquisition, multi-stage deal, regulatory complications, potential IP issues. It's a mess. Interested?" "Yes, sir." "You'll be working with Andrea Chen. She's been here 8 years, knows her stuff, doesn't tolerate sloppy thinking. Think you can keep up?" "I know I can." "Then it's yours. First briefing's Thursday at 2. Don't be late." Noah left the office feeling like he'd just made the right call. Not the flashy one, not the one designed to shut people up, but the one that moved him forward without sacrificing what mattered. Progress. Real progress. Thursday's briefing went well. Andrea Chen was sharp, thorough, and had no patience for guesswork. But she listened when Noah pointed out gaps in their data, asked good questions, treated him like a colleague instead of a liability. After the meeting, she pulled him aside. "Marcus says you're good with operational details," Andrea said. "That true?" "I try to be." "Then focus on the supply chain integration. That's where this deal will live or die. Everyone else is looking at the financials and the IP. Nobody's looking at whether these two companies can actually function together. On it. And Reed, don't let Justin get in your head. He does that to everyone. It's not personal. Feels personal. That's because it's working." Andrea smiled. "Best revenge is doing better work than him, which you already are." She walked away, leaving Noah with a file folder and the growing sense that maybe, just maybe, he'd found his footing in this place. The weeks that followed weren't easy. The tech acquisition was genuinely complex. But Noah worked it methodically, the same way he'd worked every problem, breaking it into pieces, finding the patterns, asking questions nobody else thought to ask. He left at 6 most days, made it to Ella's class play, had dinner with his daughter 4 nights a week instead of 0. And the work was good, better than good. Andrea told him so. Marcus told him so. Even Victoria, in a brief elevator encounter, mentioned she'd heard positive things. The whispers didn't stop entirely. Justin still made comments. Others still kept their distance, still treated him like an outsider who'd gotten lucky. But Noah was learning that belonging wasn't something you achieved by convincing everyone else. It was something you claimed for yourself, quietly and steadily, through the simple act of showing up and doing what needed doing. Friday evening, 3 weeks after his conversation with Marcus, Noah was packing up when his phone rang. Unknown number. Noah Reed, he answered. Mr. Reed, this is Principal Hutchins from Ella's school. I'm calling because Ella got sick during last period. We've been trying to reach your emergency contact, but I'm on my way. Noah grabbed his jacket, didn't bother shutting down his computer, just ran. The elevator took forever. The subway was packed. Every minute felt like 10. He made it to the school in 23 minutes. Found Ella in the nurse's office, pale and small, clutching her backpack. Daddy, she said, and started crying. Noah scooped her up. I've got you, kiddo. It's okay. The nurse gave him instructions. Stomach bug. Probably, watch for dehydration. Keep her home tomorrow. Noah carried Ella to the subway. She fell asleep against his shoulder before they even reached the platform. He should have been thinking about work, about the analysis due Monday, about the email he'd need to send explaining why he'd left early. But all he could think about was how light Ella felt, how small, how he'd almost missed this call because he'd been in a meeting, how close he kept coming to missing everything that mattered. They made it home. Noah settled Ella on the couch, got her water and crackers, put on her favorite movie. Then he sent one email. Marcus, family emergency. Ella's sick. I'll have the analysis sections ready Monday morning, but I won't be in tomorrow. Let me know if that's a problem. He hit send, turned off his laptop, sat next to his daughter. 10 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Marcus, take care of your kid. Work can wait. Noah stared at the message, read it twice, let himself believe it. Then he set down the phone, pulled Ella closer, watched the movie he'd seen 17 times and would happily watch 17 more. Because this moment right here, his daughter warm and safe and trusting that he'd take care of her, this was what actually mattered. Everything else was just details. Ella stayed home sick for 3 days. Noah worked from Beth's apartment, laptop balanced on the kitchen table, fielding emails between doses of children's Tylenol and episodes of cartoons he could now recite from memory. Monday morning, Andrea sent him a message. Heard your kid's sick. Don't stress the timeline. We'll adjust. Tuesday afternoon, Claudia checked in. How's Ella doing? Need anything? Even Justin, who'd spent weeks making snide comments, sent a brief text. Hope your daughter feels better soon. It was the kind of thing that should have felt normal, basic human decency. But to Noah, who'd spent years in jobs where calling in sick meant risking termination, where personal problems were seen as professional weakness, it felt almost radical. By Wednesday evening, Ella's fever had broken. She was eating again, complaining about missing school, begging to go to the park even though she was still wobbly on her feet. Tomorrow, Noah promised. When you're stronger. But I'm bored now. Then be bored a little longer. Doctor's orders. She made a face but didn't argue. Just curled up next to him on the couch, head on his shoulder, watching her shows. Beth appeared in the doorway, coffee mug in hand. You know you don't have to stay here all week, she said. I can handle sick kid duty. I know, but I want to be here. The job really okay with this? Yeah, surprisingly. Beth sat in the armchair across from them. You sound like you don't believe it. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, I guess. For someone to pull me aside and explain that family emergencies are fine once, but don't make it a habit. Has anyone said that? No, which is why I'm waiting. Maybe there's no other shoe, Noah. Maybe you just found decent people. He wanted to believe that, wanted to trust that the accommodation wasn't temporary goodwill that would evaporate the moment it became inconvenient. But years of experience had taught him that jobs always demanded more than they promised, that boundaries only existed until someone needed them crossed. Still, 3 days of working from home without a single comment about commitment or dedication suggested maybe Beth was right. Maybe this place was different. Thursday morning, Noah returned to the office. Ella was well enough to go back to school, and Beth had assured him 17 times that she'd call immediately if anything changed. Walking through Meridian's lobby felt strange after 3 days away. Like he'd been gone longer than he had, like something should have shifted in his absence. But everything looked the same. Same marble floors, same glass elevator, same people moving with purpose toward destinations that probably mattered less than they thought. At his desk, Noah found a small stack of files and a sticky note from Andrea. Welcome back. These are the supplier contracts for the tech acquisition. I need your assessment by next week. No rush. No rush. Two words that would have been sarcastic anywhere else. Here, they seemed genuine. Noah opened the first contract, started reading. An hour in, Marcus appeared. Reed, you look less dead than I expected. Thanks? How's your daughter? Better. Back at school today. Good. Marcus glanced at Noah's screen. Andrea's got you on supplier contracts? Yeah. That's tedious work, important but tedious. I don't mind tedious. Most people say that, few mean it. Marcus checked his watch. Management meeting in 10. I need you there. Noah looked up. Me? Yes, you. The tech acquisition is on the agenda. Andrea will be presenting, but she requested you join. Said you'd found some supply chain issues worth discussing. I found potential issues. Nothing confirmed yet. Then confirm them or rule them out. Either way, management needs to hear it. Marcus started walking. Conference room C. Don't be late. Noah saved his work, grabbed his notes, tried to ignore the flutter of nerves in his chest. Management meetings meant senior people, directors, maybe board members. The kind of room where junior analysts didn't usually sit unless they were taking notes for someone else. Conference room C was on the 45th floor, smaller than the main boardroom but still impressive. Mahogany table, leather chairs, windows overlooking the financial district like a constant reminder of what was at stake. Andrea was already there, organizing her presentation. She looked up when Noah entered. There you are. How's Ella? Much better, thanks for asking. Of course, kids get sick, it happens. She gestured to a chair. Sit next to me. When we get to supply chain integration, I'll hand it to you. Keep it concise. These people have the attention span of caffeinated squirrels. Other people filed in. Noah recognized some from previous meetings. Others were new faces with the kind of bearing that suggested they made decisions that moved millions. Victoria entered last. Her eyes swept the room, landed on Noah for just a second, registered something that might have been approval or might have been nothing. Let's begin, she said, taking her seat at the head of the table. Andrea's presentation was clean, thorough. She walked through the tech acquisition's financials, projected synergies, regulatory considerations. 15 minutes of careful analysis delivered with the confidence of someone who'd done this 100 times. Then she got to operational integration. This is where things get interesting, Andrea said. On paper, combining these two companies creates efficiency. In practice, there are significant supply chain complications. Noah, you want to walk them through what you found? Every eye in the room turned to him. Noah stood, pulled up his slides, kept his voice steady. Both companies source components from overlapping suppliers, he began. But they negotiate different terms, different delivery schedules, different quality standards. If we merge without addressing this, we'll have one supplier trying to fulfill contracts with contradictory requirements. He clicked to the next slide, showed the timeline of potential conflicts. More concerning is this. He highlighted 3 suppliers. These companies provide 60% of the critical components. If the merger causes them to renegotiate terms or walk away, we're looking at 6 to 8 months of production delays while we find replacements. A man Noah didn't recognize leaned forward. Have you reached out to these suppliers? Confirmed they're actually concerned? Not yet. I wanted to flag the issue before we committed resources to outreach. So, this is theoretical. It's risk assessment based on contractual analysis and industry norms, but yes, until we verify, it's theoretical. Victoria spoke. What's your recommendation? Contact the 3 critical suppliers before we finalize the merger. Gauge their willingness to renegotiate. If they're open to it, great. If not, we need to factor replacement costs and delays into our projections. And if they use our inquiry as leverage to raise prices, then we know the real cost of this merger. Better to know now than 6 months in when we're locked into a deal that doesn't work. Silence settled over the room. Noah waited, trying not to read too much into expressions that gave nothing away. Then Victoria nodded. Do it. Andrea, coordinate with Reed to make supplier contact. I want preliminary responses by end of next week. Yes, ma'am, Andrea said. The meeting continued. Other topics, other presentations. Noah sat back down, adrenaline still humming through his system. When it ended, Victoria caught his eye. "Read a moment." He waited while others filed out. Andrea gave him an encouraging look as she left. Then it was just Noah and Victoria in the conference room. "You've been here almost 2 months," Victoria said. "Yes, ma'am. In that time, you've killed one deal, saved us from another bad one, and now you're potentially preventing a third from imploding post-merger." She crossed her arms. "You're making a lot of people around here look like they don't know what they're doing. That's not my intention. I know it's not, which is why it's effective." She moved to the window. "I'm getting pressure to promote you, move you up to senior analyst." Noah's heart skipped. "From who?" "Marcus, Andrea, even a few board members who appreciate someone who actually reads contracts instead of just running models." She turned to face him. "But there's a problem." "Okay." "You've been here 2 months. Most people wait 2 years before that kind of move. If I promote you now, people will say it's favoritism. They'll say I'm rewarding someone who got lucky with timing instead of someone who earned it through sustained performance. So you're not going to do it." "I didn't say that." Victoria's expression was unreadable. "I'm saying there will be consequences. More resentment. More people questioning whether you belong. More scrutiny on every piece of work you produce. Can you handle that?" Noah thought about Justin's comments, about the whispers that still followed him through the office, about the constant feeling of having to prove himself over and over. Then he thought about Ella, about the stability a promotion would bring, about health insurance and salary increases, and being able to move out of Beth's apartment into a place of their own. "I can handle it," he said. "You sure? Because once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be held to senior analyst standards, more complex work, higher expectations, less room for error." "I understand." "And the boundaries you negotiated with Marcus, those stay in place?" The question surprised him. "You know about that. I know about everything that happens in this company, Reed. It's my job." She paused. "So I'll ask again. The boundaries stay in place? Because I won't promote someone who's going to burn out in 6 months trying to prove they deserve it." "They stay in place." "Good." Victoria pulled out her phone, typed something. "HR will have the paperwork ready tomorrow. Promotions effective immediately. Salary bump to $85,000. You'll report directly to Andrea on complex acquisitions, but Marcus will still oversee your general development." "Thank you." "Don't thank me. You earned it. Just don't make me regret it." She left. Noah stood alone in the conference room, trying to process what had just happened. 85,000. Senior analyst, 2 months in. It felt surreal, like someone else's life he'd accidentally stepped into. He pulled out his phone, texted Beth. "Can you watch Ella tonight? I need to take you to dinner to say thank you." Beth's response came immediately. "What happened?" "I'll tell you at dinner." That evening, Noah took Beth to the Italian place on Columbus Avenue, the nice one they'd always walked past but never entered because it wasn't in the budget. Now it was. Over pasta and wine Beth insisted he order, Noah explained everything. The meeting, the presentation, Victoria's offer. 85,000, Beth repeated. "Noah, that's life-changing. I know. You could get your own apartment. Stop crashing on my couch." "I'm not crashing. I'm paying rent." "You're paying a third of what you should be, and you know it." Beth smiled. "I'm proud of you, really proud. I keep waiting to wake up and find out this is all some elaborate dream. It's not a dream. It's what happens when someone finally recognizes what you're capable of." She raised her wine glass. "To my little brother, who spent years being underestimated and is finally showing people what he's actually worth." Noah clinked his glass against hers. "To family, who puts up with me when I'm impossible." "You're not impossible, you're just stubborn." They ate, talked about apartment hunting, about Ella's school, about Beth's own work at the nonprofit that barely paid her enough to survive, but that she loved anyway. Walking home, Beth linked her arm through his. "You know what the best part of this is?" she said. "What?" "Ella gets to see her dad succeeding, She gets to see that working hard and being honest and showing up actually matters. That's a better education than anything they'll teach her in school. Noah hadn't thought about it that way, but Beth was right. Ella was watching, learning that persistence mattered, that doing good work had value, that being a good person wasn't separate from being successful. The next morning, Noah arrived to find a small crowd at his desk. Claudia, Andrea, even Marcus. Someone had brought donuts. "Congratulations," Andrea said. "Welcome to Senior Analyst Hell. It's exactly like regular Analyst Hell, but with more responsibility and only slightly more money." "Gee, thanks." "She's not wrong," Claudia added, "but the work gets more interesting, so there's that." Marcus handed Noah a file folder. "Your first assignment at the new level. Private equity firm wants us to evaluate a portfolio of 5 companies. Recommendation due in 6 weeks. You'll be lead analyst." Noah took the folder. It was heavy. "Questions?" Marcus asked. "Just one. Same boundaries as before?" "Same boundaries. You negotiated them, you keep them. Just make sure the work gets done." "It will." The crowd dispersed. Noah sat at his desk. Desk, same view, but somehow different now. He opened the portfolio file, started reading, lead analyst. His name on the final report, his recommendations driving decisions. No pressure. The next few weeks were intense but manageable. Noah worked the portfolio methodically, building relationships with Andrea and other senior analysts who treated him like a colleague instead of an interloper. The work was complex, but it was also exactly what he was good at, finding patterns, asking questions, digging into details others overlooked. He left at 6 most days, made it home for dinner with Ella, helped with homework, read bedtime stories. On weekends, he started apartment hunting, found a 2-bedroom in Queens, nothing fancy, but clean and safe and theirs. He signed the lease on a Saturday morning with Ella bouncing excitedly beside him. "Our own place, Daddy? Our own place, kiddo." They moved in 3 weeks later. Beth helped pack. Claudia showed up with cleaning supplies and an inexplicable amount of enthusiasm for organizing closets. Even Marcus sent a text. "Good luck with the move. See you Monday." Standing in their new living room, boxes stacked everywhere, Ella's laughter echoing from her new bedroom, Noah felt something he hadn't felt in years. Stability. Actual, real stability. Not the kind that could evaporate with one missed paycheck or one medical emergency, but the kind built on steady work and fair compensation and people who valued what he brought to the table. It felt fragile, like something he needed to protect, but it also felt earned. Monday morning, Noah was at his desk by 7:30, coffee in hand, ready to dive back into the portfolio analysis. At 8, his phone rang. Internal number he didn't recognize. "Reed?" he answered. "Noah, it's Victoria. My office. Now." The line went dead. Noah's stomach dropped. That tone, sharp, urgent, not good. He grabbed his notepad, took the elevator up, tried not to spiral into worst-case scenarios. Victoria's assistant waved him through without a word. Inside, Victoria stood at her window, back to the door. She didn't turn when Noah entered. "Close the door," she said. He did. "Sit." He sat. Victoria finally turned. Her expression was stone. "We have a problem," she said. "A big one." "Okay." "The Hartman Industries file, the one that's been sitting unassigned for months. Oh shit is. I know it. Well, someone leaked our preliminary interest to a competitor. Now there's a bidding war, and we're caught in the middle without enough research to make an informed move." She sat down, fingers steepled. "I need someone to take point on this. Someone who can work fast, dig deep, and find the leverage we need to either win this deal or walk away clean." Noah's pulse quickened. "How fast?" 2 weeks. Maybe less if the other firm moves quickly." "That's not a lot of time for a company that size." "I know, which is why everyone I've asked has turned me down. Too risky, too complex, too tight a timeline." Victoria's eyes locked on his. "But you don't turn things down, do you, Reed?" "I have a daughter." "I know you do, and I know you negotiated boundaries specifically so you could be present for her, which is why I'm asking, not ordering. If you take this, it will be intense. Late nights, probably some weekend work. It will test everything you've built here. And if I say no, then I respect your decision and find someone else. No penalties, no resentment. Your career here continues exactly as it has been. Noah thought about Ella, about the boundaries he'd fought for, about the stability he'd finally achieved. Then he thought about the challenge in front of him, about proving he could handle the hardest thing they had, not to Justin or anyone else, but to himself. "I'll do it," he said, "but I need support. I can't pull this off alone in 2 weeks. You'll have whatever you need, staff, resources, direct access to me. Name it. I want Claudia on analysis, Andrea on financial modeling, and I need Marcus freed up to review my work in real time so we don't waste time on dead ends. Done. Anything else?" "Yeah. When this is over, regardless of outcome, I take 3 days off. Completely off. No email, no calls, just me and Ella." Victoria smiled, actually smiled. "Deal. Now get to work. Clock's already ticking." Noah stood, started to leave, stopped at the door. "Why me?" he asked. "You've got senior analysts who've been here years, people with more experience, better credentials. Why ask me?" Victoria leaned back in her chair. "Because everyone else is so worried about protecting their career that they forgot how to take risks. You haven't learned that fear yet. You're still willing to walk into the hard thing and figure it out as you go." She paused. "Don't lose that, Reed. It's rarer than you think." He left her office with a knot in his stomach and a fire in his chest. 2 weeks. Hartman Industries, everything on the line. Back at his desk, Noah opened the Hartman file. Hundreds of pages of financial data, corporate structure, international operations, a maze of complexity that would take months to fully understand. He had 2 weeks. Noah pulled up his team roster, sent messages to Claudia and Andrea, blocked off meeting times, started building a framework for how to approach this. Then he called Beth. "I need to tell you something," he said when she answered. "That sounds ominous. I just took on a project that's going to eat the next 2 weeks. Late nights, maybe some weekend work. I'm sorry." Silence on the other end. "Beth, is this what you want to do or what you feel like you have to do?" "Both, maybe. I don't know." Noah rubbed his eyes. "But I negotiated time off after, 3 full days. Just me and Ella, no work." "And you think 3 days makes up for 2 weeks of absence?" "No, but it's what I can offer right now." Beth sighed. "Okay, I'll help with Ella. But Noah, at some point you're going to have to decide whether you're building a career or building a life. Because right now you're trying to do both, and it's not sustainable." "I know. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you keep saying you know, and then you keep doing the same thing." This is different." "How?" Noah didn't have a good answer, so he said the only true thing he could think of. "Because this time, I'm choosing it. Not having it forced on me, not scrambling to survive. I'm choosing to take this on because I want to see if I can do it. And what happens when you prove you can? What's the next impossible thing you'll choose? I don't know, Beth, but I have to do this one first." She hung up without saying goodbye. Noah sat at his desk, phone in hand, already second-guessing everything. But it was too late to back out now. The next 2 weeks were a controlled chaos Noah would remember for the rest of his life. 18-hour days, mountains of data, Claudia running analysis while Andrea built models while Noah synthesized everything into coherent strategy. Marcus reviewed their work with brutal efficiency, cutting through bullshit and forcing them to prove every assumption. Hartman Industries was every bit as complicated as advertised. Shell companies, international holdings, revenue streams that appeared and disappeared like magic tricks, the kind of corporate structure designed to obscure rather than illuminate. But Noah had spent years untangling logistics chains that didn't make sense. This was just a different kind of maze. He found the pattern on day 9. Noticed that 3 subsidiaries were reporting conflicting numbers for the same revenue streams. Dug deeper. Discovered that Hartman was shifting profits between divisions to minimize tax liability in ways that were technically legal but ethically questionable. More importantly, he found their weak point, a single supplier relationship that, if disrupted, would cascade through their entire operation. That was leverage. Noah compiled everything into a presentation. Stayed until 3 a.m. making sure every number was right, every conclusion defensible. The next morning, he presented to Victoria. She listened in silence, asked sharp questions, tested his logic. When he finished, she sat back. "This is excellent work, Reed." "Thank you. But here's the reality. If we use this leverage, we burn bridges with Hartman permanently. They're a major player. Making an enemy of them has consequences." "I know. Do you think it's worth it?" Noah thought about the numbers, about what Hartman was doing, about whether winning this deal mattered more than doing it right. "No," he said finally, "I don't think we should pursue this. The leverage is there, but using it makes us complicit in their practices. Walk away. Let the other firm have it." Victoria studied him. "You just spent 2 weeks working yourself to exhaustion to give me ammunition to win this deal. And now you're recommending we walk?" "Yes, ma'am." "Why?" "Because winning dirty isn't winning. It's just another way of losing." Silence filled the office. Then Victoria smiled. "Good answer. I'm walking away." "And Reed?" "Yes?" "Take your 3 days. You earned them." Noah left her office feeling like he'd just passed a test he hadn't known he was taking. Outside, Claudia was waiting. "We walking away?" she asked. "Yeah." "Good. Hartman's a mess. Not worth the headache." She handed him a coffee. "Now go home. You look like death." Noah laughed. "Thanks. Seriously, go see your kid. We'll handle cleanup here." He didn't need to be told twice. That evening, Noah picked up Ella from school himself, took her to the park, pushed her on the swings until his arms ached and she was giggling so hard she couldn't breathe. "Daddy, you're here," she kept saying, like it was a miracle. And maybe it was. They got ice cream even though it was November and freezing, walked home slow, talked about nothing important. At bedtime, Ella looked up at him. "Are you happy, Daddy?" The question caught him off guard. "What makes you ask that?" "You smile more now. You're not so tired all the time." Noah pulled her close. "Yeah, kiddo. I think I am happy." "Good. Me too." She fell asleep within minutes. Noah stayed, watching her breathe, thinking about the last few months, about walking through the wrong door and staying when he should have left, about working harder than he'd ever worked and finally finding people who valued it, about negotiating boundaries and taking risks and learning that doing good work didn't mean sacrificing everything else. It wasn't perfect. There were still whispers, still people who thought he didn't belong, still moments when he wondered if it would all collapse. But sitting in his daughter's room, in their apartment, with 3 days off stretching ahead and a career that felt sustainable for the first time in years, this felt pretty close to perfect. Close enough, anyway. The 3 days off turned into something Noah hadn't expected. Not rest exactly, but a kind of reset. He and Ella went to the Natural History Museum, where she spent 40 minutes staring at the dinosaur skeletons and asking questions he mostly couldn't answer. They made pancakes for dinner because she wanted them, and he was too tired to argue about nutrition. They watched movies and built blanket forts and existed in a bubble where work emails didn't exist and nobody needed anything from him except his presence. On the third day, Beth stopped by with groceries. "You didn't have to do that," Noah said. "I know. But I also know you've been living off pizza and whatever Ella will eat, which is apparently just pasta and apples." She set the bags on the counter. "How are you feeling?" "Weird. Like I forgot how to just be still." "That's because you don't know how to be still. You haven't known since Sarah got sick." The mention of his wife's name still landed like a weight, even after all this time. Noah started unpacking groceries to have something to do with his hands. "I've been thinking about what you said," he offered, "about choosing between building a career and building a life." "And?" "I don't think it has to be one or the other, but I think I was trying to build the career as proof that the life was worth something. Like if I could just succeed enough, work hard enough, prove myself enough, then everything else would fall into place." Beth leaned against the counter. "Did it?" "No. It just made me tired and absent and exactly the kind of father I swore I wouldn't be." Noah put away the milk. But these past few months, something shifted. I stopped trying to prove I belonged and started just doing the work. And weirdly, that's when things actually got better. You think Victoria sees that? I think Victoria sees everything, which is honestly terrifying. Beth laughed. She sounds intense. She is, but she's also fair. More fair than anyone I've worked for. Noah paused. She gave me this project knowing it would push me. And then she accepted my recommendation to walk away, even though it meant all that work was for nothing. It wasn't for nothing if you learned something. What'd I learn? That you can handle the hard thing without it destroying you. That's not nothing, Noah. Ella appeared in the doorway, dragging her blanket. Aunt Beth, are you staying for dinner? I could be convinced. We're having spaghetti. Daddy's making it from a jar, but it's still good. Sounds perfect. They ate together, the three of them, conversation flowing easy. Ella talked about school and her friend Maya, who had a pet hamster, and how unfair it was that they couldn't have a hamster because their apartment didn't allow pets. Maybe when you're older, Noah said, that's what you said about getting a dog. Because it's true for dogs, too. After dinner, Beth helped clean up while Ella disappeared into her room to draw. You're doing okay? Beth said quietly. In case nobody's told you that recently. I'm trying. I know, and it shows. She dried the last plate. I should go, but Noah? Don't lose this. Whatever you figured out these past few days, whatever balance you found, hold on to it. I will. She left. Noah stood in his kitchen, in his apartment, in the life he'd built from scraps and determination and one wrong door that turned out to be exactly right. Monday morning came anyway. Noah walked into Meridian feeling different, rested maybe, or just clearer about what mattered. At his desk, he found a message from Victoria. My office, 9 a.m. He grabbed coffee, headed upstairs. Victoria was on a call when he arrived, gesturing for him to wait. He stood by the window, looking out at the city, at all the buildings full of people fighting their own battles, making their own impossible choices. Read. Victoria hung up. Sit. He sat. I wanted to follow up on Hartman, she said. The competitor firm that was bidding against us. They closed the deal Friday. Fast. Too fast. Which made me curious. She pulled up something on her tablet, turned it so Noah could see. Financial statements. The same shell companies he'd identified. They didn't do the due diligence, just rushed through to beat us to the table. They're going to regret that. They already are. Hartman's CFO resigned this morning. Rumors of an SEC investigation. The whole thing is unraveling. Victoria set down the tablet. You saved us from that, by doing the work everyone else was too impatient to do. I was just thorough. No, you were right. There's a difference. She stood, walked to the window. I've been running this company for 8 years, Reed. In that time, I've hired hundreds of analysts. Most of them are competent. Some are brilliant, but very few have what you have. What's that? Integrity that isn't situational. Most people talk about doing the right thing. You actually do it, even when it costs you something. She turned to face him. That's rare. Don't let this place sand it away. You've said that before. Because it bears repeating. The pressure here is constant. The temptation to cut corners, to prioritize speed over accuracy, to win at any cost. It's everywhere. Most people give in eventually. I need you not to. Noah met her eyes. I won't. I'm going to hold you to that. Victoria returned to her desk. I'm expanding your portfolio. You'll be taking lead on our sustainability investments moving forward. It's a growing sector, a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of greenwashing and fraud. I need someone who can sort the real from the fake. That's a significant expansion. It comes with a title change. You'll be principal analyst, another salary bump, more autonomy, but also more visibility, more scrutiny. When does this start? Today. She slid a folder across the desk. First project, solar company looking for Series B funding. They claim revolutionary panel efficiency. I need you to verify that claim or debunk it. You have 3 weeks. Noah took the folder. 3 weeks is tight for technical verification. I know, which is why I'm authorizing you to bring in external consultants, engineers, scientists, whoever you need. Build your team. Just Make sure they're as thorough as you are. Understood. One more thing. Victoria's expression softened slightly. How's your daughter? The question surprised him. She's good. Happy. Good. Keep it that way. Because the work we do here matters. But it doesn't matter more than that. Noah left her office with the folder and a strange feeling in his chest. Pride, maybe. Or recognition that he'd finally found a place that valued the same things he did. Back at his desk, he opened the solar company file. Started reading. Within 20 minutes, he'd identified 3 claims that needed verification and 2 red flags that suggested the efficiency numbers might be inflated. He pulled up his contact list. Started making calls. The next 3 weeks were intense, but different from the Hartman sprint. This time Noah had resources. He brought in a materials scientist from Columbia, an electrical engineer from Stanford, a manufacturing specialist who'd spent 20 years in the solar industry. Together they tore apart the solar company's claims, visited their facility, examined the panels, ran independent tests. The revolutionary efficiency? Marketing spin. The panels were good, but not revolutionary. The company was overselling their technology to attract investors, hoping to figure out the actual innovation later. Noah compiled his findings, recommended Meridian Pass. Victoria accepted the recommendation without question. Third deal you've killed, she noted. People are going to start thinking you're anti-growth. I'm anti-fraud. There's a difference. I know. I'm just making sure you do. She closed the file. Good work. Next project's already queued. And so it went. Week after week, project after project. Noah found his rhythm, working hard during office hours, leaving at 6, being present for Ella. Some nights he worked after she went to bed. Some weekends he spent Sunday afternoon reviewing files. But it never consumed him the way it had before. The boundaries held. 3 months in, Noah was in the break room when Justin appeared. They hadn't spoken since the diversity hire comment, had mostly avoided each other in the careful way people do when there's unresolved tension. Read, Justin said. Park. Awkward silence. Then Justin spoke. I owe you an apology. Noah looked up from his coffee. For what? For being a dick, for the comments about special treatment and diversity hires and all of it. Justin shoved his hands in his pockets. You've been outperforming most of the senior analysts here, including me. That's not luck. That's skill. Okay. I was threatened. You came in without the credentials I spent years and a lot of money acquiring, and you were good anyway. It made me question what I'd actually earned versus what I'd just bought with an expensive degree. Noah considered that. I get it. I'd probably feel the same way. Yeah? Yeah. But you were still a dick about it. Justin laughed, short, surprised. Fair. Does this mean we can be civil now? We can try. They shook hands. It wasn't friendship, probably never would be, but it was something better than resentment. That evening, Noah got home to find Ella doing homework at the kitchen table, Beth reading in the living room. You're early, Beth noted. Finished my work. Thought I'd actually have dinner with you guys. Revolutionary concept. Ella looked up from her math worksheet. Daddy, can you help me with this? I don't understand fractions. Noah sat beside her, looked at the problems, realized he'd forgotten most of what he'd learned about fractions decades ago. Let's figure it out together, he said. They worked through it slowly. Noah making mistakes, Ella correcting him, both of them laughing when they got it wrong and celebrating when they finally understood. Later, after Ella was asleep, Beth cornered him. You seem different, she said. Different how? Lighter, like you're not carrying the weight of the world anymore. I'm still carrying plenty, but not alone, Beth smiled. That's the difference, I think. You're letting people help, at work. Here, you're not trying to be invincible anymore. Noah thought about that, about Marcus giving him accommodations without being asked, about Victoria trusting him with bigger projects, about Claudia and Andrea treating him like family, about Justin apologizing. I think I finally figured out that asking for help isn't weakness, he said. It's just realistic. Look at you, growing as a person. Don't sound so surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm proud. The words hit deeper than Noah expected. He looked away, blinking against something that might have been tears if he let it be. Thanks, Beth, for everything, for letting me crash here when I had nowhere else, for taking care of Ella when I was a mess, for believing I could do this even when I didn't. That's what family does. I know, but still, thank you. She hugged him, quick and tight, then pulled away before it could get too emotional. Now go to bed. You look tired. I'm always tired. Then go be tired in bed instead of on my couch. Noah went to bed. Slept better than he had in months. 6 months into his time at Meridian, Noah got a message from Victoria. Board meeting tomorrow, 2 p.m. You're presenting the sustainability portfolio performance. Prepare accordingly. Board meeting. The same board members who'd questioned his Paxton analysis, who'd been skeptical of his credentials, who probably still wondered if he was just Victoria's pet project. Noah spent the evening preparing. Built slides, rehearsed talking points, made sure every number was bulletproof. The next day, he walked into the boardroom with a confidence that surprised him. Not arrogance, just certainty that he'd done the work and the work would speak. Robert Chen was there. Andrea Volkov, James Hartley, plus 4 others Noah didn't know. Victoria made introductions, then turned it over to Noah. He presented for 20 minutes, walked through the sustainability portfolio, 12 investments evaluated, 4 approved, 8 rejected, showed the rationale for each decision, demonstrated that the approved investments were already outperforming projections. When he finished, Robert Chen leaned back in his chair. You've rejected 67% of the deals that crossed your desk, he said. Yes, sir. That's a high rejection rate. It's an accurate rejection rate. Most companies claiming sustainability credentials are overstating their impact or outright lying. I'm filtering for the ones actually doing meaningful work. And you're confident in these assessments? I'm confident in the methodology. I bring in experts. I verify claims independently. I don't rely on company-provided data unless I can corroborate it elsewhere. Andrea Volkov spoke. The 4 approved investments, they're all performing above initial projections. Why do you think that is? Because I'm not just evaluating their technology or their market fit. I'm evaluating their integrity. Companies that are honest about their current capabilities tend to be honest about their challenges too. That makes them better partners. James Hartley smiled. You're basically saying you invest in people, not just businesses. I'm saying the two aren't separable. Bad people build bad businesses, even if the technology is sound. Silence settled over the room. Then Robert Chen nodded. Keep doing what you're doing, Mr. Reed. The portfolio speaks for itself. The meeting ended. Board members filed out. Victoria hung back. That went well, she said. Did it? Robert Chen never compliments anyone. The fact that he told you to keep doing what you're doing is the equivalent of a standing ovation. Good to know. How are you feeling? About the work, the role, everything? Noah considered the question. 6 months ago, he would have said he was grateful, lucky, still waiting for it to fall apart. Now? I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, he said simply. Victoria smiled, actually smiled, warm and genuine. Good, because you are. That evening, Noah picked up Ella from school. They walked home slow, her hand in his, talking about her day. Maya's having a birthday party next weekend, Ella said. Can I go? Of course. What does she want for a present? Art supplies. She wants to be an artist when she grows up. Smart kid. Daddy, what do you want to be when you grow up? The question made Noah laugh. I'm already grown up, kiddo. But if you could be anything, he thought about it, about the job he had now versus the jobs he'd had before, about what actually mattered. I want to be someone who does good work and comes home to you every night. That's enough. That's boring. Maybe, but it's true. They got home, made dinner together, real cooking, not takeout, Ella measuring ingredients while Noah chopped vegetables. They ate at the table, no phones, just conversation. After bedtime, Noah sat in the living room with his laptop. Not working, just browsing apartment listings. Their place was fine, but maybe they could upgrade. Find something with a small yard. A place where Ella could have that hamster she kept asking about. His phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Team meeting Friday, 4 p.m. Pizza will be provided. Attendance mandatory. Noah typed back, I'll be there. Simple. Easy. No conflict with picking up Ella. No impossible choice between work and family. Just life, balanced and sustainable. Friday's team meeting turned out to be a celebration. Meridian had closed a major deal, one Noah had helped evaluate months ago, and the returns were exceeding projections. This is what happens when we do the work right, Victoria said, standing at the front of the conference room. When we prioritize accuracy over speed, when we're willing to walk away from bad deals instead of forcing them through. She looked directly at Noah when she said it. So thank you, all of you, for maintaining standards, for refusing to compromise, for remembering that we're not just moving money around, we're building something that lasts. People clapped, ate pizza, talked shop. Claudia sidled up to Noah. You know she's talking about you, right? She's talking about everyone. No, she's talking about you. You set the tone. Everyone else just followed. That's not true. Believe what you want, but I've been here 8 years and I've never seen Victoria this hands-on with anyone's development. You're her project, Reed, in the best way possible. Later, as the celebration wound down, Victoria pulled Noah aside. Walk with me, she said. They took the elevator down to the lobby, then out into evening air. Victoria didn't say anything for a block, just walked, hands in her pockets. Finally, I made a decision 6 months ago that everyone questioned. Hiring you, promoting you, giving you lead roles you hadn't technically earned yet. I remember. I did it because I saw something in you that first interview, something I recognized because I used to have it too. What's that? The willingness to walk away. You were ready to leave that conference room, accept the mistake, and go on with your life. You weren't desperate. You weren't trying to manipulate the situation. You were just honest. She stopped walking, turned to face him. I've spent 8 years in this role making compromises I told myself were necessary, approving deals that felt wrong because the numbers worked, prioritizing growth over integrity because that's what boards want to see. And now? Now I'm tired of it. Tired of winning at any cost. Tired of sacrificing what matters for what's profitable. She smiled, small and sad. You reminded me what it looks like to just do the right thing, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Noah didn't know what to say to that. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, Victoria continued. I'm just saying thank you for being exactly who you are instead of who you think this place wants you to be. I don't know how to be anyone else. I know. That's the point. They walked back in silence. In the lobby, Victoria stopped. Go home, Reed. Spend the weekend with your daughter. Stop trying to prove yourself. You already did. Noah went home, found Ella watching cartoons, Beth cooking something that smelled amazing. You're early again, Beth said. Getting to be a habit. Good habit. They ate dinner, played board games, existed in the simple rhythm of family. That night, after everyone was asleep, Noah stood in Ella's doorway, watching her breathe, thinking about how close he'd come to missing all of this. How easily he could have kept grinding himself down in jobs that didn't care whether he lived or died. How one wrong door, one cosmic accident had led him here. He didn't believe in fate, didn't think the universe had a plan, but he believed in showing up, in doing the work, in being honest even when lying was easier. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. 3 years later, Noah stood in the same conference room where he'd first interviewed. But this time, he was on the other side of the table. The candidate across from him was young, nervous, clearly out of his depth. Wrong room, wrong interview, just like Noah had been. You're not who we were expecting, Noah said gently. I know, I'm sorry. There was a mix-up with the scheduling and it's okay. These things happen. Noah glanced at the resume the kid had brought. No degree, gaps in employment. The kind of history that would make most hiring managers pass immediately. But Noah had learned that resumes only told part of the story. Why are you here? He asked. Because I need work, because I'm good at solving problems, because I don't quit. The answer was so familiar, it hurt. Noah looked at this kid, probably 25, wearing a jacket that had seen better days, holding himself together through sheer will, and saw himself 3 years ago. "Tell me about a problem you solved," Noah said. "Something difficult, something nobody else could figure out." The kid's face lit up. Started talking about a logistics nightmare at his last job, how he'd mapped out a new routing system that saved the company thousands. Noah listened, asked questions, pushed to see if the kid actually understood what he'd done or if he was just reciting a story. He understood. The interview ran long, 45 minutes, then an hour. Noah forgot about his next meeting, forgot about everything except figuring out whether this nervous kid had what it took. Finally, he made his decision. "Start Monday," Noah said. "7 a.m., HR will send the paperwork." The kid blinked. "Are you serious? Do I look like I'm joking?" Thank you. Thank you so much. I won't let you down." "Don't thank me yet. The work's hard. The hours are long. You're going to want to quit about 17 times in the first month." "I won't quit." "We'll see." After the kid left, Noah sat alone in the conference room, pulled out his phone, texted Victoria, "Just hired someone." Her response came immediately. "The wrong candidate from the scheduling mix-up?" "How did you know?" "Because I hired you the same way. History repeating itself." Noah smiled, looked out at the city beyond the glass, at all the impossible things that had happened because he'd walked through the wrong door and someone had given him a chance anyway. That evening, he picked up Ella from school, 4th grade now, growing too fast, already talking about what she wanted to be when she grew up. "How was work, Daddy?" "Good. I hired someone today." "Like Ms. Kane hired you?" "Something like that." "Are you going to be nice to them?" "I'm going to be fair to them." "Same thing, hopefully." They walked home through autumn air, leaves crunching underfoot. Ella talking about her day and her friends and the science project she had due next week. At home, Noah made dinner while Ella did homework at the kitchen table. Simple food, simple routine, the kind of life he'd spent years fighting for and now got to live. Later, after Ella was asleep, Noah sat on his couch with a beer and his laptop, pulled up the new hires file, started planning his onboarding. He'd make sure the kid had support, resources, clear expectations. The same things that had helped Noah survive those first brutal months. Because that's what you did when someone gave you a chance. You paid it forward. You built the kind of place where people could succeed without sacrificing everything else. His phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. "Congratulations on the hire. Don't screw him up." Noah typed back, "I'll do my best." That's all anyone can do. He set down his phone, finished his beer, thought about the kids starting Monday, about Ella growing up watching her father build something meaningful, about Beth, who'd never stopped believing even when he'd given her plenty of reasons to, about Victoria, who'd looked at a tired man in a worn jacket and seen potential instead of liability, about all the people who'd shown up when it mattered. This was the thing nobody told you about success. It wasn't a destination, wasn't a title or a salary or a moment when you finally proved yourself. It was just the accumulation of showing up, of doing the work, of being honest when lying was easier, of helping others the way you'd been helped. Nothing more complicated than that. Nothing more profound. Noah closed his laptop, went to bed, set his alarm for tomorrow, because tomorrow there'd be more work, more problems to solve, more people to support, and he'd show up for it, the same way he'd shown up for everything else, not because he was special or brilliant or destined for greatness, but because he'd learned that showing up was enough. It had always been enough. It would always be enough. And in a world that constantly demanded more hours, more sacrifice, more of everything, being enough was its own quiet revolution. Noah Reed slept well that night, dreamed of nothing important, woke up ready for Monday, ready to give someone else the same chance he'd been given, ready to keep building the kind of life that mattered, one honest day at a time. That was the real victory. Not the job, not the title, not the salary, or the recognition, but the simple fact that he could look his daughter in the eye and know he'd shown up. For her, for himself, for the work that needed doing. Everything else was just details. And details, he'd learned, had a way of working themselves out when you focused on what actually mattered.